Oh, here we go. Mics. The mics need to be turned on if we're going to go live.
Oh, that's true.
I would say this was your job, but the button's in front of me. So
that's true. We should probably
turn
it on.
That's okay. The mics are on now. So hopefully you can hear us. And thank you for joining us. My name is Ryan Height. I'm sure most of you know me by now, but Miss Maria McAuliffe, you do not. Maria's been our intern here this year, and I'm going to stop and let you say hi because you started 3 times.
Hi, I'm Maria McAuliffe. I'm the summer intern, and this is my first time on the Unauthorized Caucus, and I'm very excited to be here.
That's right. And if any of you were watching our Collegians live broadcast this past Tuesday night, you would have seen Maria. She got to sit down. We had tons of people sit down. Lots of folks join us via video as well. And we had a great program. But we just wanted to recap. If you've been following us at all the last year, you know last June we did the same thing after our big Collegians Summit, which we host each summer in D.C. We sat down. We brought in a couple of our interns, some of our staff, and we just wanted to kind of talk about it and recap. It's incredibly important what happened this past Tuesday night. There was a lot of incredible information shared, and it's something that you should go back and look at. So you still can. It's up now, and we're going to be continuing to clip and cut and give out individual speakers as we move forward here. But go to phyllisschlafly.com/collegians. Also, the YouTube and the Rumble page, you'll be able to find all of those. And we are going to be going through. Each speaker is going to have their own video. We're going to clip some shorts as well that you can share with your friends and family. Just good little points or punchy segments that really need to get out there because we had a lot of good speakers.
Oh, yeah, so many. And a lot of them had really good, the whole talk of them, each of them were great, but they had some hard-hitting one-liners I think everybody needs to hear,
Well, and the nice thing about the hard-hitting one-liners, it wasn't just punchy, I know how to TikTok conservative, but a lot of them, they would have a hard-hitting one-liner, and then they would come back around to why. They had what the argument or the facts or the research to back it up. So we had a lot of really good guests. So I wanted to talk about our theme, and I wanted to dive in and talk about it. So just, if you didn't watch, our theme this year was the power of patriotism. One of our regulars, Christ Crucified for You on YouTube, is here and says hi, Maria. So don't welcome her. She's not going to be a regular. No, I'm kidding. You probably will. We're going to drag you in this summer quite a bit. But yeah, our theme was the power of patriotism and we were kind of actually spurred on. We've been thinking about this, the term nationalism gets thrown around as if it's a dirty word by the media, but it's not a bad thing to love your country, but why? So as we started talking about that, Ed was talking about it, our staff, we were kind of inspired, and I'll give credit where it's due. Eric Metaxas wrote a wonderful book. I should have brought my copy in a few years ago now, I think 2016, called, If You Can Keep It. The book is called If You Can Keep It, The Forgotten Promise of American Liberty. And it is it's a very short read, but it's an incredibly good case for why it's important to love our nation. And it has nothing to do with just, yay, America, our nation is best, nationalism. It has to do with what America stands for. The liberty that it was founded upon, the individual responsibility, religious liberty, personal freedom. These things are why we love America. It's not just because America, it's because what it stands for, what it means, which is why it's not just keeping America great, it's keeping those things in place, those fundamental beliefs and values at the core of who we are as a nation. That's what we fight for. That's why we fight for it. It's why we love America. That's what we talked about this week, and I think it was very important. We had a lot of good folks come in, but just off the bat, I'd like to run through some, and I want to point you all in some directions, but who are some of your favorites? I know we were talking about this right before we went live, but who are some of your favorites and why?
Well, it was great to hear. I mean, all of the guests that we had were so intelligent and just really knew what they were talking about, and you could tell. And I think from my favorite, I sat in on the Matt Gaetz interview. Was great. He has a lot of good things to say, and he's a hard-hitting interviewer and interviewee, and so it's cool. It was fun to hear. I also really liked Mike Howell. I thought he drove a lot of good points home, and he was kind of talking about oversight, and his Twitter is really great for a lot of information of what's happening. And so that was cool to hear. And then I really liked Everett Piper, who's the author of, College is Not a Daycare.
Yeah, not a Daycare. And then, there was another one. Grow Up. Yes. That was his second book.
And so he had a lot of cool points, especially coming from a college student. I think it's always cool to hear that there's some people out there who don't believe in babying us as much as they do. So
yeah. Yeah, no, that was, I mean, he was later on in the program too, but I really like Dr. Piper's message because, I mean, I'm paraphrasing it with my own words. It's basically, from his perspective as an educator, it's not his job to teach you what to think. It's his job to teach us and his students how to think. Yes. And not just spoon feed you answers, which is the problem. I mean, you look at Charlie Kirk going across campuses, Phyllis Schlafly went across college campuses doing her speaking and debate tour. You just hear these regurgitated lines that students are hearing from leftist professors. They're not thinking about it. When they actually engage in a meaningful conversation with someone, it's very interesting, the results. And that's, Piper's whole point is think about things, go back to the basic value, and then when you know you're right, stand up for it. You got to talk.
Absolutely.
So he had a good message. Those are some good ones. Mike brought some interesting perspectives.
Yes, definitely.
Some of our congressmen kind of went into the weeds of some policies. People like Dr. Piper pulled it back and talked about the broad values. It was an incredibly valuable evening. Yes. And I think that it is definitely something that everyone would benefit from. Obviously, we were broadcasting specifically to college students, but this information is very applicable to all of us. And as you know, and I know, Maria, you've been watching since you've been here, kind of caught up on a couple. The whole point of this Unauthorized Caucus, this is kind of the background jabber. This is what we've been talking about off camera, outside of our publications. These are the conversations, kind of digging into things like, why does this matter? Why do we want to have this person? What's really behind this issue? These are the things we all need to be talking about, because to Dr. Piper's point, don't just know what to think. Don't know the one right position. Know why that matters, why that position, or why we hold this position, how you can defend it, because I know the value, the understanding behind it. And then, much like Phyllis Schlafly, when you start to look at that angle, we're going to discover, we talk about these different political issues or cultural issues that come up. But even though the terminology, the facade, the outer layer changes throughout the decades, the fundamental value underneath everything doesn't. It's still the same right and the same wrong, with just a little different shades of whatever it is, but the value is the same. Yeah. So it's really important to go through that. Let me think here. I had a question. And by the way, I've dropped down in the chat or the comments, wherever you are, the link to our Collegians page. Right now, there's the big old video we broadcast for bonus points. I'll give you an hour off early if you can tell me the exact number. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no, 5 hours and 54 minutes and 37 seconds?
5 hours and 50. I think
that's right.
5 hours and 46 minutes, I think it was. 5:49. We're both wrong. That's okay. Neither of us gets to go home early. And 21 seconds. Wow. Almost 6 hours we broadcast. And I mean, you go to a conference, it's a multi-day endeavor, so this is not the longest thing that we've ever done or that you've ever been a part of, but it is, I think, one of the most impactful 6 hours that you'll watch so far this year.
And it's not a slow watch. I mean, every guest that comes on has really good points, and it keeps you very interested. And I mean, every person is worth watching, and I think it's a good watch. It's worth it. Yeah,
it is. And I mean, I'm looking at the lineup that we went down front to back. It was really fantastic, and there were some interesting things. Like we had one of my new favorites. Who's if you listen to the Pro America Report, to Ed Martin's radio program, and if you tuned in, we had a young man named I say a young man, he's my age, but VJ J-Raj was on from the CO2 Coalition. That whole, getting into climate science and refuting that, I know that the climate crazies are just spewing facts that have no basis in history, but I don't quite always know how to say you're crazy. But here's the reality. So to listen to folks like this, I go, man, you're off into the weeds, into a scientific sector that I just really haven't done the research on. But I appreciate that he takes it all, digests it, and gives us something to say. This is, especially on college campuses, running into this radical environmentalist agenda, not conservation. I'm all for conservation, being a good steward of the environment, of the planet that we've been given. I'm for conservation, but then you take this step to the radical, environmentalism. How do I combat that? Well, even though we're off into the weeds on a single issue, he still did a very good job at saying, no, here's what they say, but here's the reality. Here's what you can say back to that. CO2 Coalition, which is led by Gregory Wrightstone, who we've had in the past. You've probably seen him. And VJ, they're doing a wonderful job figuring out how to digest all of those facts and hand it over to you to then have something to say back to the folks who we know they're wrong, but I don't quite know how to tell you you're wrong. Because I don't want to just say, like the left does to us, oh, you're crazy. Well, why? Back that up. Tell me why. We want to be able to do that. So front to back, even if it wasn't one of the more exciting, powerful, punchy segments, and we were kind of off into a single issue, it was helpful. And everything was about 20 minutes. So we're really managing to give you the high level stuff and then get into a few things before we move on. So you don't just camp out on something that's not of general interest. It's a really neat program. It was good. Let me double check and make sure I'm not missing any comments here. Well, by the way, if you're watching this, sound off down in the comments below. Let us know. I see several of you watching. Get in here and comment or get in the chat. Let me know if you watched. What was your favorite speaker? What was your favorite topic? What would you like to see us springboard into from there? Because obviously we've got the radio program. There's the weekly column from John and Andy Schlafly. We've got this. What issues do we need to talk about and go further than Collegians and come back around and actually camp out on that issue? Let us know. I think these are the most important topics we're facing. And I mean, today we're both tired. We're both very tired. So we're going to keep this one short. I didn't have any issue in mind to get off today, but I wanted to make sure that we took an opportunity to kind of talk about it, point people back to it, make sure that you go and watch that, and then keep an eye on the pages because more is going to be coming. But yeah, I think that as we march forward into 2022 and 2024, this is going to become an incredibly important topic that we hit over and over again, because I think as conservatives, and I mean, I'm acutely aware of this, we're getting geared up in my house for Independence Day. This is one of our favorite holidays. We love to celebrate. And it's not just, red, white, and blue glitter everywhere and hot dogs and parades. Well,
sometimes it is.
Well, no, it is on top of that, and those are great things. But underneath all of that is, in our house, we get real excited. We have all of the Founding Fathers stuff comes out. We've got all the patriotic music, John Philip Sousa, back to early other American composers. There is this long and rich cultural history and heritage in America. And part of that is being the melting pot of all of these other nations thrown in. We have the Irish American, cultural influences. We have the German American. We've got the some of the old British roots and things that we share in common with England. There's all of this cool, rich culture that I love passing on to my kids. And yet, as excited as a lot of us get about that in America, the modern left, especially on college campuses, is just preaching no, you should be ashamed of your country. We've done all these awful, and it's no, every country on the face of the earth has had problems, some small, some really big. We did, just like England, the original country we came from, did. At some point, we had to face the evil of slavery and abolish it. That was huge. We, in part, fought a war over it, and hundreds of thousands of people died. We figured it out. We moved past it. We have continued to move past it. You don't be ashamed of where you came from. You are proud of what you've overcome.
Yeah, and I think a part of being over the overall theme of this Collegians Summit was patriotism, and I think patriotism, it's being proud of this country, and we've accomplished so much. And it's I think one of the fundamental rights and the one thing about being a patriot is possessing that free speech and speaking up for loving your country and speaking up for loving being conservative and speaking up against people who are trying to tell you not, and that's wrong. It's just
right.
That's being a patriot means speaking up, and it means using your free speech. It's in the Constitution, and
right,
got to use it.
Well, and that's the number one thing. You look at college campuses, people are being silenced and censored. We look at big tech, we're being shadow banned and censored. Not being able to freely speak your mind is one of the primary things that's under attack, and that one affects all of us.
Yes,
that's not just conservatives. That's kind of and we talked about that. I forget who. Maybe it was before Collegians, but we were talking about that with someone. That once they come for that, this is the principle of, do you not realize, folks out there who have more liberal or different cultural or political views than me, if they can silence me, what happens when I'm gone and they have no use for you anymore? The precedent that's been set when you allow a federal government the power to censor speech, and we don't have recourse against that, that's incredible, because then that comes for everyone who disagrees, who dissents. And that's what it was. There was a segment, maybe it was last week on the radio show, we talked about that. The fundamental, and last week during Caucus, the fundamental, I forget, we've had so many broadcasts since then, it's all blended together, but the fundamental American value of dissent. I disagree with the powerful people's version of what we should do. I disagree with that. Well, that's fundamentally why America exists, because we dissented to the narrative, to the line from England, and we went far enough with that eventually, became an independent state. If we give that up, that line is to be held for everyone, not just people we agree with. The whole point of it is to preserve disagreements. So that's incredibly important. I think that was something that we touched on quite a bit about free speech, especially on college campus. That's a huge that's a huge issue. But it's all of these other issues, whether it's radical climate science or politics and judges or whatever it is. I mean, all of these things are jumping in, and we talked about a lot of them. But it is a spider web of issues that all come back to the core value of having being allowed and able to have these discussions freely, these conversations, and we covered that Tuesday night. I think it was important. Here we go. We got someone sounding off here. Are engaged. Yeah, someone engaged in the battle. That's right. Garrett Ziegler. That was a highlight. I know that was a highlight for Ed. Yeah. Someone who worked inside government. Garrett, for those of you who haven't been listening to the show, because we featured him a couple of times, he's the founder of Marco Polo Research. They're the ones who dug into and made sense of the Hunter Biden laptop to basically pull out this chain of evidence, this trail of corruption and abuse, not even abuse of power, but the selling of influence.
Yes. Yeah.
Like here, here's your ticket into an influential family. What are you willing to pay? So Garrett has.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say he's carved a path here and gotten on a bad side of a lot of important people. So.
But he did something that we needed, and it's often that we don't have the information that we need to discover and feel out the truth. And he laid it all out there. His website's, good layout. You can 2 clicks and you can get whatever you want. And it's perfect because we can see all the evidence. We can see that he's in the wrong. And that's something as Americans that we need to be able to see the true hard facts before we make a decision. And that's something that we are not given often. It's hard that we get the information that we want so we can decide what to believe and not be forced into what the media wants us to believe. Right. And so that's why Garrett Ziegler is doing with this Marco Polo is great, because it's really showing us what we need to see.
And he has, to the point of the comment down here from Gwen, he has courageously shoved forward his agenda to make that public, to put this information out there and let people make their own decision with it. Yeah. So that's the kind of courage that I think we're going to need from all of us. There's an understanding of what's happening, the issues, and specifically what's going on. There's an understanding of why it matters, which is that patriotism is not just, yay, I love my country. Well, why? I love the fundamental rights that we have to free speech, to worship openly as we choose, to disagree with each other publicly, to represent or choose our representatives who go to government and on a trustee basis vote on our behalf. These are the things that I love. These are the things that I celebrate. I celebrate it with red, white, and blue glitter and hot dogs, but this is why. And it's really important for us to understand the why, not just the what. That's why I love America. It's not what I love, it's why I love America, why America exists, that we celebrate and that we are patriotic about. That is the nation of mine and Maria's and yours that we should love. So let that be our message this week is, as we're heading into the Independence Day holiday here, not the 4th of July, it's Independence Day. I catch myself saying it, but I'm trying to correct it. We need to fix that culturally.
All right.
Independence Day in the office. If you say the 4th of July, I don't know.
Just don't,
I just don't. We'll make you something else. We'll figure out something. We'll have to put money in a jar or something. I don't know. Independence Day. It matters. It's not just the 4th of July. Why is it the 4th of July? It's Independence Day. This is a big deal. Why do we love America? It's not just because America is the greatest. It's because America is truly the most unique and greatest nation that has existed in the history of the world, because of the foundation that was given to us by our framers, the constitutional framers. It's important. We need to have these discussions. We need to understand these things. And a great launch point for you, as you've heard, we just keep coming up with things to talk about from our nearly 6 hours of broadcasting. Go watch it.
Yes.
The YouTube video is segmented. You can flip through the timeline and see where each of the speakers are, hit them in different order, but I encourage you to watch the whole thing over time. And then keep an eye on the YouTube and Rumble, social media, Twitter, Facebook. We will be publishing those things out in different shorter segments to try to make it easier for you to share. So that's it. That's my button on it. Do you have anything else you want to close it with?
Honestly, just check out the video. I mean, it's 6 hours worth of valuable information, and don't watch it all at once. Start with our favorites, and then figure out who you want to hear. And I know you'll take a lot of good things away from it. I know I did, and it's a very rewarding experience, and it's worth a watch.
Good. I'm glad you were with us. I'm glad you were with us today. Don't forget, I forgot to say at the top, go to not ProAmericaReport.com. Oh my goodness, that's the radio. You should go there too. Go to PhyllisSchlafly.com. If you go to PhyllisSchlafly.com, not only is that where I've linked here, that's the one link for today. There's not any others. Go to that one. It's important. But go to PhyllisSchlafly.com. When you head to that link, anywhere on the website, that little banner is going to pop up. Give me your name and email. Trust me, we're not going to sell it or trade it or spam you or anything, but you're going to get, as these things are repackaged, all of the 6 hours of video as it's repackaged into different formats, we're going to send it out. You're going to know it's there. Thursdays, noon, you're going to know it's caucus time. Every morning, we're going to send you, I promise, one of the shortest emails out there of all of the email services that just gives you a very quick synopsis of something you need to know today without this big, long thing going into the depths of all of the issues you don't need to know about. So go to PhyllisSchlafly.com and sign up. Like, share, and subscribe wherever you are. Hit the share button and tell someone to watch this so they can get an overview, and then they can maybe launch into the 6 hour video from there. And we will look forward to seeing you next week. Next Thursday at noon, we will have another very unauthorized caucus.